A glass and steel home clings to raw rock above the clouds. Inside, it is quiet, while outside, wind scours the ridge and ice hunts every edge. At this altitude, the site is the enemy: fractured stone, brutal gusts, and thin air that punishes crews and materials. The residence has to act like a machine, anchored into the mountain, tuned on precision bearings, and sealed against pressure swings, because a small miss can turn into a torn envelope or a bound bearing. What single install lets a transparent pool hang over empty air without leaking? The answer is a compression seal stack installed in a precise sequence and torqued to spec, where factory tolerances meet cliff constraints. That single operation turns a dramatic edge pool from fragile ornament into dependable infrastructure. The mission is ruthless and simple: deliver year-round, quiet, safe habitation at near-summit elevation, with transparent edges and moving architecture that feel effortless. The technical stakes are unforgiving. Thin air stresses people in combustion, Alpine winds try to rack the frame. The interior must stay breathable and thermally steady without noise or drafts. Experience matters too. Big panes must hold their seals as temperatures swing, and the edge pool must behave like infrastructure, not furniture. Weather windows and dangerous access compress work into short, high-risk bursts where rework multiplies pain. The team treats the mountain like a patient to be diagnosed before any incision. They scan the face, core the strata, set instruments, and then monitor how the cliff breathes with heat and gusts. That ground truth steers anchor patterns, staging pockets, and work windows. Hard rock only becomes a foundation when loads are handed into the right stone. The crew socketed deep anchors and bolts into competent strata, patterned to resist pull-out, shear, and uplift while keeping the face intact. Instead of overclaiming chemistry, they relied on craft: low-temperature grout couples, steel to frozen rock, so mechanical interlock and adhesion both work in the cold. Every critical anchor is proof-loaded and instrumented, so creep shows up on a graph before it ever shows up in glass. Freeze-thaw is starved with sealed collars, drainage, and materials chosen to endure cycles. One anchor failed its proof load with a dull, audible give, forcing a redrill. Because the instrument record was live, the team caught it before it translated into a misaligned frame. For structure, they had to build the job site into the mountain. Crews cut and secure narrow access ledges and hoist points, carve snow-safe staging pockets, and lash edge protection so tools and people stay caged. With laydown tiny, material flow is choreographed months ahead. Big modules are prefabricated, pre-rigged, and cued for lift windows when wind and clarity align. One pocket ties into a temporary anchor over there. A small geography decides what can move. The choice of lift method for outsized pieces, like long acrylic and multi-ton glazing, rearranges the entire calendar. That choice dictated the day the acrylic went in and the signature sequence around it. The build itself runs on a repeatable rhythm. Control survey sets out the steel, crews fit up prefabricated nodes on the ground, lifts place them into position, and connections are bolted or welded and torqued. A single rule: verify before you lock, drives the laser checks and sign-offs. Cumulative error is hunted and kept inside a tight envelope, so the moving element and the glazing marry cleanly. Prefabricated steel nodes and pre-gasketed facade units cut time at the edge, while parallel crews split tasks: steel rising, glazing trailing, interiors chasing. Heavy glass rides vacuum lifters and taglines to cancel sail effects. Once seated, argon cavities and seals are protected until the final pressure checks. As the skeleton closes, services clip into brackets placed by the same control survey so penetrations land exactly once. Every major operation is controlled by sensors and hard stop criteria. Lasers track deflection and edge gaps. Hold points pause the crew to verify surface temperatures, seal prep, and torque patterns before any next move. Gust thresholds and deflection limits are hard stops, not suggestions. A spike triggers a rollback to a cradled safe state, rather than gambling on a lull. The moving element rides on magnetic bearings designed to tune loads and views without friction spikes. And the whole system is instrumented, so if bearing alignment drifts beyond its allowance, the structure works the seals. If seals slip, pressure and moisture are detected before insulation gets wet. Then comes the impossible lift: the big aerospace-grade acrylic panel that becomes the pool edge. It arrives cast and machined far away, traveling in a custom cradle that never lets it twist, then is rigged in a cradle on site and lifted on guides. The sequence is tight and finite. Prep the frame and surfaces, rig the panel in a custom cradle, lift and incline, inch-along guides, seat on tuned shims, verify gaps, and then stage the sealant stack and compression bars in a strict order. Lasers and sensors lock onto hold points. Surface temps, seal prep, and torque patterns are checked before any next move. When filled, this edge must hold dozens of tons of water while it hangs over hundreds of meters of void, without weeping as temperatures swing. That is why the compression seal stack, installed with exacting sequence and torque, is this single install that lets a transparent pool hang over empty air without leaking. Factory tolerances meet cliff constraints in every component. Large facade panels are fabricated off-site and travel in protective racks that keep edges perfect until the mountain. A monolithic stone bath gets its own choreography, soft-slung, slow, and set down onto a surface cleaned like an operating room. With laydown scarce, deliveries arrive just in time. A delayed shipment once resequenced 3 critical days and reshuffled the calendar, a log entry that forced crews to reshuffle lifts, inspections, and work windows. Performance is proven, not assumed. Structural welds and bolted joints receive visual and non-destructive testing, and outliers are cut out and redone before enclosure. Glazing and the pool interface go through staged pressure and leak tests, isolated, pressurized, monitored, held, and only then trimmed and closed. The transparent bridge receives controlled load tests and deflection checks before anyone walks it. Everything is traceable. Anchors, panels, and gaskets are tagged to batches and sign-offs, so a defect path can be contained quickly. On camera, you can watch a seal test hold for hours before the team calls it good. Only when the shell behaves like a quiet machine does the system's integration begin in earnest. Power flows from a custom solar array tuned with shed logic that prioritizes loads when the weather tightens. Thermal comfort comes from geothermal exchange with the cliff feeding quiet hydronic loops. Warmth without drafts. Air systems enrich oxygen to offset altitude, flowing through concealed plenums, tuned for low noise so occupants feel calm rather than short of breath. Magnetic dampeners calm plumbing, so taps and fills don't telegraph through the frame. Exterior paths are kept safe by automated snow removal sensors that trigger heat or clearing at the right moments. These systems must cooperate before the water and the moving element come online. Commissioning climbs from parts to whole. Component tests prove sensors, valves, and bearings. Subsystems are tuned. Oxygen stability under occupancy, hydronics under swing conditions, controls under simulated gusts. Then the full system trial runs. The moving element travels under watch while the envelope stays quiet. Alarms are tuned to back off before damage. The edge pool fills to its operating set point and simply holds, no weeping, no shift, while the room stays calm. Exterior automation runs in real wind and snow to prove clearing and drainage as the facade flexes within its allowance. Only after documented routines and access plans are in place does handover arrive, along with a maintenance binder that keeps this machine at altitude reliable for years. The mountain decides what's possible, but when craft, instrumentation, and patient sequencing meet, a transparent pool can hang over empty air, and a fragile cliff can become part of the structure itself, quiet, safe, and astonishingly livable.